Hello and welcome back to the Awaken with Terraflow podcast. My name is Shae.
And I'm Shannon. And today we are going to open your third eye, or we're going to talk about it anyway. That's the topic of our podcast today. We've been working our way through the chakra systems, and we are finally at the point where we're going to talk about that third eye.
Yeah, so if you are seeing me on YouTube, you'll notice I'm wearing a purple sweatshirt. Purple or indigo is the color that indicates the third eye point. And yeah, I'm super excited to dive into this today.
Yeah, so when we think about the chakra system, Shae, can you start talking a little bit about where to begin? You know what I mean? Does one just up one day and be like, I want to open up the chakras and I think I'll start here in the middle of my forehead? Or is there a different way we should go about this?
Definitely, I would not recommend with just starting at the third eye point. So our chakra points are energy centers that reside in our body. They start at the root and actually below the root too. If we want to go so far, there's 7 that we are talking about on this channel right now. And that starts at the base of your spine and then all the way up to the crown of your head. And it's basically a long line of energy that works together in this vertical line, but also horizontally out into your field, your energy field as well. And so when you think about the chakras, it's important to start at the base and work your way up, especially if you're trying to heal some like deep internal things. So yeah, I feel like it's a privilege if you are able to get to the point of opening up your third chakra. You know, that's probably another episode that we can do, is just the like how special it is to be able, that we are able to even be at a spot in our lives where we're comfortable enough, where we're able to do this type of work in general, you know. But I do think that's important to note, is that if you don't have the lower chakras aligned or healed, or whatever the verbiage you want to use, you're not even going to be able to get up to this third eye point. And the third eye is essentially our intuition, right? And so you'll know if you're able to access this or not, just based on, are your thoughts clear? Do you listen to your inner voice? Do you follow that inner voice that lets you know what's good, what's bad, what's wrong, you know?
Right. So why we even want to open our third eye, you kind of said it at the end there, because to get your intuition, your psychic powers activated, for lack of a better word, basically so you can open that channel to the universe. So the third eye is a powerful place to do so. And opening the third eye is something that's been basically known about since well before we think we knew that there was a pineal gland back here with actual receptors and cones very similar to what is in the back of your eye, your actual human eye. And that's been back there. They found that. And supposedly before we knew about that, the ancients knew about the third eye. You can see it in their art. You can see it in their writings. They were talking about being able to open that channel up, that channel to another dimension, essentially. So the third eye chakra is, just as Shae was saying, part of this whole system. So if we want to activate those intuition powers and those all the different clairs, this is a good place to do it.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about the pineal gland. Pineal?
Pineal?
Which one is it? I've heard both. I'm not sure. But yeah, basically that's like your master gland in your body. This is like working on your hormones. This is working on your circulatory system. I mean, on and on and on. This is like such a big part of the functioning of your bodies. And this is where your third eye resides, right? Is like right above the brow, between the brow, right above. And right. So it's just so interesting to me, especially what you said about like the cones and the rods that are helping us to see through these physical eyes, are also residing in this third eye that isn't visible to these eyes.
It's crazy to really think about, but most of us aren't used to really working through that type of energy. Most of us aren't really aware about our third eye. And I'm sure that people's third eye is naturally as open or as closed as, well, basically whatever, character they're picking, right? Basically who they are, right? Is depending on how naturally this opens or closes, or is it open or whatever. So I know that that's the case, but you can work on getting it open. You can work on, there's definitely practices to open it up, but that third eye energy, if we don't have that open, well, then we just don't have access to that. We're not able to make decisions as easy. We're not able to tap into our dreams. We're not able to connect our imagination and our manifestation powers nearly as easily with that third eye not being able to open. You'll hear people talk about like the pineal gland having like a calcification, right? And part of the process of opening it is decalcifying. And that's when they'll give maybe breathing exercises or different foods to eat or not to eat when it comes to trying to decalcify the gland back there. So what do you know about that, Shae?
Yeah, I know of a couple different breath works that are supposed to decalcify your third eye point there. And a lot of them have to do with, like, there is one that's the breath of fire, right? But you're also rolling your eyes to the back of your head at the same time. And that is supposed to activate this area and kind of clear it out. But yeah, I'm not sure about the foods. I've definitely heard of that, but I don't know off the top of my head. That's definitely something I'd love to do more research about. But something that's coming to mind is, like, in yoga, they use the word Maya to represent like the illusion that is, happening in reality. And I think there's something to, once your third eye is open, it's like you can't go back. And so, like, things like your mundane life, like, you won't be able to, just like tell the white lie or not follow your intuition or not follow your gut in those moments where it feels easy to like just pass that along. And I also think something else is just that there is still, even when your third eye is open, like, it's still all just an evolution. Like, there are ebbs and flows. So I don't want people to think that, like, I don't want people to be afraid to open their third eye, because it's not scary. And I don't want people to think that, like, now my third eye is open, like, that's it, I've done all the work there is to do. Like, no, it is an evolution, and there are ebbs and flows in the energy of all the chakra points. That's just the nature of this human experience.
Yeah, fantastic. Kind of going back to what we're eating or consuming, fluoride in your toothpaste is the one thing I'm really bringing up as far as, like, we know about putting calcium on that gland, and avoiding fluoride is why we do that in certain practices. So there's that. Also, the yoga practices of opening up the chakra system, and we do certain yoga practices specifically to open up the third eye. Things like the headstand, things like downward dog, honestly, anything that moves the energy down toward the head. The breathing exercises is meant to move the energy up through the body and activate. And like you said, when it does activate, it can be a pretty intense experience, I'll have to say. The first time I actively know for sure my third eye opened, it was almost like the eye of Sauron opened. It was crazy. It was almost as if it opened, and I just like searched around, and anywhere that I looked, I could just see. It was like an X-ray. I was like getting so much information in. It was crazy how much information, just how many dreams, how many synchronicities. It was nuts. And for a minute there, I was like, okay, universe, please close, please close. That's enough. delete, back up. Too much information. And it just like took me a minute to be able to filter that out and be able to kind of process everything that I got and was getting when that did happen, but also to just sort of be able to regulate and control how much I was allowing in. Because it was almost like just the full amount of information, like a fire hose was coming at me, and it was a lot. So I've heard, and I was, reading at the time all these books and stuff about opening the third eye, and some would say kind of beware, so to speak. But it is really just know what you're getting into. Know what you're getting into. If you're trying to open that up and get the channel to the universe, don't be surprised if you, if you get a fire hose of information randomly at times. But it's been a couple years now since that has happened. And how I get information now, it is totally different than I used to. I get it basically in downloads. It seems like, we hear other people talk about that, but it's so interesting how it comes in. It's as if I'll get an idea and I know it's there. It's almost as if my brain is like, you have an email, you have a file waiting. I don't know exactly what's in it until I click on it, and then I open it up, and it's kind of one of two files. It's a temporary file that I'm just going to read out. It's probably for somebody else. I'm going to read it out and it's going to delete, and I'll never, see it again. Or sometimes I'll get a full on like vision where I can remember every single detail of it, almost as if I can go through it, almost like like a 360 view, where I can see all parts of it. I can smell, I can hear. So it depends. And either one, I'm not sure until I open the file up. Some I get to keep, some I don't. It's really crazy. How much information is in there really depends. But the third eye opening really, I think, started that intense downloads where I'll just get a bunch of information that I'll just know suddenly. And I'm like, wow, okay, what do I do with that? I don't always know.
I think it's so interesting because our third eye is associated with seeing, but it's not just about what we're seeing with our physical eyes. It's about what we're seeing literally in our mind's eye. It's everything that you're talking about with visions. And when your third eye is activated and open properly, it's like your imagination can flourish at that point, right? And I think that sometimes like people think imagination isn't real or that you can't trust your imagination, but when you are an open channel, right, and when your chakras are aligned, like your imagination can be just that, like a visionary download from the universe, especially if you are consciously opening yourself up as that channel. But also I think it's interesting what you said about just the sensitivity that can come with opening this chakra point. And I just want to talk a little bit more about that. Like maybe don't do like a third eye opening meditation when you're like visiting, I don't know, your friend's house or something. Like really you want to be in a safe space to be able to explore your own perception at that point.
Yeah, good advice. I was at home, I was sitting out on my deck. So I definitely was in a safe place when all the downloads came in. I was able to just be home and just be like, wow, what was that? But once you get that third eye open and you start to be able to tap into it regularly, it starts and comes that much easier. The information comes that much easier. And getting third eye information is kind of a process of sitting and going into meditation. And that's a little bit different in the sense of like, if it's open and you have an activated third eye, you always have, like I was saying, sort of random downloads coming in. But if I want to really go into some third eye dimension traveling type thing, what I do is I close my eyes, I go deep into meditation. And that's truly when you see the third eye open up. And like you were saying, it's like your imagination. So then people will wonder, am I making this up? Mm-hmm. But here's the difference between just a daydream and our imagination, which we could talk about whether or not you're just making that up. I mean, you wouldn't know about it if it didn't exist somewhere, okay? And energy is not created anywhere. You're not creating it. You're just picking up some vibration of an existence or reality or a timeline or whatever it is. So that's kind of different than when you actively go into third eye space to travel. When you're doing that, you are intentionally opening the third eye while you're meditating stepping through it as if it's a portal and traveling around the universe, where I like to think of it almost as if anything is possible once you go through the third eye portal. You can encounter beings, you can encounter timelines, you can encounter things that just don't exist here. So that's another reason to do it. And the things that you learn in the other dimensions when you're dimension traveling, I feel it while I'm there. And that's different than when I'm just imagining and I'm thinking of it. When I'm actually in my third eye space and traveling dimensions, it's like I'm there. I feel the emotions. And that's how I know I'm there, because I can feel it in my heart. I feel the sadness or the happiness or the surprise or the confusion or whatever it is that I'm coming across in the third eye space. I feel it. I'm there. So what's the difference between that and a dream or anything else that's impacting me and my body? I'm there. As far as my body and brain knows, my body's chemistry knows, I'm there. Do you know what I'm saying? It takes the cues. My body takes the cues from whatever emotions I'm feeling. As far as my body and brain's concerned, I'm there. So how am I not there? In the third dimension, in the fourth, or whatever it is, wherever place you go into that third eye space. And that's where I feel like, honestly, I can get almost any information I want. When they talk about the Akashic records, that's where they are, in there, where you can go into the field, into the vibrational field, and basically pick up and go visit and go find out anything you want to. Talk to your higher self, talk to anybody's higher self. Almost any information seems accessible when that's open. And so when I first opened the third eye and had all this information coming in, pouring in, that's where I was like needing to filter it a little bit. And what it felt like was any and everyone else that I was interacting with, all of their thoughts and feelings. Just that, just that, where I was like, what is this? How do I know what people are thinking? How do I know what people are feeling? Sometimes I couldn't tell. I couldn't sort through what was mine and what was somebody else's. So it's taken some time. It's taken some practice. A spiritual guru that I follow, Master Sri Akashana, says that really, if that starts to happen, then you need to find a guide. Find somebody to guide you. Find somebody to help you through that can really give you a little bit of guidance around that, because so much information is really there, available, and affecting your energy. Then you have to really start to protect your energy at that point, so you're not kind of absorbing or bringing other things back in that you don't want.
Yeah, that's what I think is so interesting about it residing with the pineal gland, is because this thing that literally is regulating our bodies. I loved what you said about just being able to dimension travel. And as far as you know, as far as your brain knows, as far as your emotions know, you're there, right? And it's like all directed by this master gland that is literally regulating our entire body. So why is helping us also travel to these different dimensions? I think that is so cool and so interesting. Something that I was reading about the malfunctions of the third eye, right? Which can include like blurred vision, headaches, nightmares, glaucoma, headaches, right? Like you can think of like a tension headache behind your eyes. And I'm just thinking about like humans wearing glasses and having like blurred visions. And I know that part of this is just like our biology, right? Biologically, but also I know that people have healed their own eyesight. And I'm wondering if that is connected to healing this center, this chakra center. What do you think about that?
I love that, because I'm sitting here in glasses, as you see, and I wonder to myself, how are there so many people running around in glasses? Why hasn't evolution like picked off the people with bad vision? And or are we just collectively deciding not to see? And that's what I think it might be. We've collectively decided not to see certain things. And even me, who I'm saying I'm in body 2.0 and I am magical and create my reality, I'm still on these glasses. So I've been unable to heal my eyes. And honestly, I'm like, I'm like no kind of witch until I do. Honestly, I feel like it, because like, I if everything is energy and I should be able to heal my body, I should be able to heal my eyes. What aren't I allowing myself to see still, even though I feel like it's wide open, my third eye, but yet still I have these on. So I'm not seeing something. I don't know. I'm with you, Shae. Everything is energy, right? Everything is energetic. And if we're saying that every dis-ease, there's something in my eye that is not allowing me to see completely clearly. So yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And that's right there. It's like what a privilege that we have to be able to talk about the chakras and I said this in the beginning, be in a state of being where we can worry about this type of thing instead of worrying about like our basic foundations down at the root, your shelter, your food, your belonging, right? And so when you're able to even move up the chakra systems, I just want to like thank you for being in this spot and being in this body that's able to even hold this conversation right now, because a lot of people in a lot of places of the world aren't even able to have their perception being able to even think about this as like a topic of worry. Not that I'm worried about my sight, because I also, I'm out here on that healing journey on my eyes. I was thinking that same thing that you were saying. It's like, what am I not allowing myself to see, or what's happening here in my third eye center that I'm still wearing glasses?
Yeah, it's a journey we're definitely on of trying to figure that type of thing out, all of this out. So don't feel like you have to open your third eye to have any type of spiritual awakening type journey either. Don't feel like if you haven't had visions or dreams or out of body experiences that you can't progress and your soul isn't progressing. Of course it is. And of course you can't. I feel like part of our experience here in these human bodies is you just show up with whatever gifts that you were given. Mm-hmm. Please see our episodes on Remember Your Gifts, because we all have them, by the way. So if a gift you have is your third eye easily opens up, great. If it's not, you have other gifts. Like you can still go down a spiritual journey. You can still elevate yourself. You can still level up, whether or not you have this going on for you easily or not easily. Mm-hmm. But I love what you said about it's a privilege to be able to even think about this, because you're right. I got to be physically safe. I got to have certain things kind of set up around me to be able to even sink deep down into myself to get to this as regularly as I need to do to be able to follow this practice of opening the third eye and kind of channeling third eye energy. I got to be in a safe space on a regular basis. And I'm grateful for that as well, universe. Thank you so much for that. So the third eye practices are something that you'll find all over the internet. I don't know that we need to spend a ton of time on that. We talk about breathing and yoga and, meditation. That's basically the main ways to get at it that I know about anyway. And I'm sure there's probably others. There's definitely others. But that's basically how I used to, that's basically what I did to get there. So now that the third eye energy is there and it's open, then it is tapping into those psychic powers, those powers of intuition. Honestly, for me, that's the coolest, best part of opening the third eye. How about you?
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit, when you get to these higher chakras, it's more ethereal, like out of body, spirit connecting, right? And I want to talk about kind of like connecting to your spirit guides or your spirit tribes or the people on the other side of the veil through the third eye a little bit. I know that that's how I communicate to my spirit guides, is through like, I will just literally have a vision and it's almost like it's like a clairaudience of like, I can hear somebody else. I know it's not me. I know it's not my thoughts. I know it's my spirit guide in my it sounds strange to say my third eye when I'm hearing it, but that's where it's coming from, right? Because that's how I'm connecting to the spiritual realm, and that's how the information is being downloaded into my body. So what, do you have anything to say about that?
No, that makes sense, because basically you're getting the information in, probably coming through your crown as well. And that's just how it's manifesting, as whatever clairaudient or clairsentient or claircognizant or whatever it is, however it comes out is how it's coming out. Yeah, absolutely. And when I think about my connection to spirit guides or spirit, or, as a medium, it's not unusual for me to have experiences with other dimensional beings. And I both hear and see them. And it's a sound for sure. And like you said, that that's not your voice. You know what your inner voice sounds like. You know what an outer person sounds like. So it's definitely a different kind of inner hearing. And seeing, it's the same thing. I just get a picture in my head, and it's everything from just a flash of something to an all-out full-on movie, where that usually I don't get until I'm deep in meditation. And it's like I'm sitting there and then pop up, a whole movie will pop up as if I'm just watching the whole movie, and I can feel and see. It's like I'm in it, all the way back to, like I was saying, just a flash of knowing something, even where I won't even necessarily get the full like visual or hearing. I'll just have a knowing of something where I'm like, oh, well, that's going bad, or oh, I know where that's going, or oh, I got that, or I'm going to win that, or this is, you know what I'm saying? On and on, where it's just like little snippets of info that you just know.
And that's where the psychic abilities come from, right? I mean, that is the psychic ability right there, is to be able to, see the future or know what's going to happen next.
That's it. But it doesn't feel like anything other than just how I know my couch is black, or how I know, I don't know, my age or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like any different information. It's just like, yeah, I know that. And so sometimes we don't even recognize our own psychic and our own intuitive hits. We don't. And, we will just pass it off as something else, or just we let it kind of float through. But then later we'll be like, oh, I knew that. And it's because we just didn't follow it. We didn't give ourselves the ability, or we weren't willing to be like, yes, I know that. Now, there's definitely a difference between a knowing, and you can definitely have things that you think are true that are not an intuitive hit, but yet your brain has talked you into it. Okay. And that's where the thoughts and the mind, and if your mind is going and chattering, you can definitely talk yourself into believing certain things or stories or whatever. That's really different than intuitive hits to me. Intuitive hits are something I will just feel, versus something I've thought through and came to a conclusion about. Does that make sense? Where it's like I've thought through the situation, so therefore I've come to various conclusions. It's probably that one. Versus just, oh, I know where this is going, and I'm right. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that another point that you're making is like, you can work on your intuition. You can give yourself the time and the space. I mean, even I think about, I used to be like such a yes person right away. Someone would be, hey, Shae, can you do that? Yes, sure. And then I started training myself to give myself a second. Let me think about that, and like tap into my own intuition for a second when I have a moment, to be able to listen to what it is I need to do. So that's just one thing that you can do to start tapping into this third eye energy, right into your intuition, is just giving yourself a moment before you respond to anything.
Yes. Just train yourself a little bit. Train yourself to listen. Train yourself to believe the impulse or the intuitive hit. Train yourself to listen to yourself, essentially, and start to just slowly act on it. You know what I mean? And the more you trust yourself and the more used to it you get to trusting that information, then pretty soon, I mean, not pretty soon, but eventually you get to the point where you don't question it. You just get the input, you just get the download and you just go with it. You're not really questioning it at all. I mean, I know that I don't question the intuitive hits I get. I don't question it. I'm not going to spend time. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to follow it, because it's when I doubt myself that I'm not sure about it, then I'm blocking it. at that point, it's just that much harder for the universe to tell me if they keep telling me and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure. Then universe stops trying nearly as hard to tell me.
And I think we all know what it feels like to do something against our intuition. And so when you can feel that innately in your body, and then you can notice the difference between what it feels like when I am following that intuitive hit and when I'm not, that's such a good clue, and it's such a good baseline for following it then or not. It's like, feel it in your body. Am I doing the right thing, or am I going against my intuition? And I think that we talk about, I think in every chakra episode, about this 7-year download, right? And about these conditions that we've been brought up in our societies, in our households, and just who we're around in general. And so this does take some practice, definitely, especially if you've been programmed to not follow your intuition, to follow somebody else's ideas or thoughts, or to not be sure of yourself. And so it's just all a practice, and it all just takes time, just being gentle with yourself and slow with yourself.
Yeah, be patient with yourself, because it is a practice that takes time. It is something you have to get used to. And if that's something you're interested in doing and you want to open up your third eye and become more psychic, more intuitive, you can do it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Don't let anybody tell you what your experience should feel like. I think everybody's experience probably feels differently. So if it's, are you the person that just does automatic writing, for example? I've never been able to do automatic writing. I'm not sure if I can, I can't let go of the control. I'm not sure. Like, who knows? That's just not the way it comes. But for some people, it's that, for example. So figure out what works for you best and go with that. Go with the path of least resistance when it comes to this, trying to work on your energy and work on your third eye. Again, like we were saying, protect your energy around it too. Because once you start to work with the energies and trying to pull things in, then sometimes you get stuff that you don't want. You don't want to know that. I don't want to see that. That's another whole probably episode of what do you do then when you're getting too much information. Mm-hmm. Well, you gotta put some protection shields up. There's different ways to go about doing that. One easy way to protect your energy is to just literally imagine a golden shield. I like to imagine, like, I'll take a shower and wash all the energy off me, and then I'll imagine like almost golden rain, golden energy, just flowing over my body and protecting me that way. And actively protect my energy and actively say what comes in and out. No spirit can do anything to you without your permission, by the way. You can tell unwanted energies and unwanted spirits, or any kind of unwanted entity that you happen to come across in that space, or if you're working with this energy, you can tell it no. You can tell it that it's not welcome. So part of that is owning your space too. If you're going to go down this path, own your space. Don't take this lightly. Don't do it lightly. You don't want to suddenly find yourself, really depressed and just loss of energy. It's almost like what you feel like when the energy vampires show up. We all know who those people are that show up and just suck our energy out. This is what you're susceptible to when you're working with these third eye energies. So, take care of yourself as always, and pay attention to.
Yeah, that is a huge reason of why we started this podcast to begin with, is to gather like-minded people to let you know that you're not alone. It can be scary, and especially when you're working with opening up energies, you'll find yourself like losing certain people or certain things in your life that just no longer serve you, right? And then you can start to maybe feel isolated. And so just know that you're not alone on this journey, and that there are like-minded individuals who are going through the same things, same but different always, but same things. that are right there with you, you know, and are experiencing the same types of energies as you.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you've had weird experiences with third eye openings, whether it's dreams, whether it's visions, whether it's intuitions. What has happened to you when you've had, when you tried to open your third eye, or when you've thought about opening it up?
Yes, let us know down below. And if you have any more questions, I know that this is going to be ongoing research. I'm just so interested in the chakras in general. And so just the more questions that people give me is just like more of a reason for me to go find the answers. So any questions about the third eye or any other chakras, leave that below as well. And thank you so much for this conversation and being here with me.
Yeah, do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. Give us a like, hit that notification button. Every interaction helps our channel to grow. So thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you for sharing your energy with us. Thank you, Shae, for this beautiful conversation as always. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.